He fed thousands with 5 loaves. In a quiet green place beside the sea, a crowd follows a teacher from town to town. You will see how a small offering becomes a vast provision, and what that teaches about compassion and trust. This man is Jesus, a teacher known for healing and startling words. He looks at people not as crowds, but as hungry souls. He moves with quiet authority and compassion, teaching hard truths and showing mercy. These are the disciples, men apprenticed to Jesus. They travel with him, listening, learning, and carrying simple tools. They still struggle to understand the scale of his purpose and the nature of his power. As the previous scene settles, crowds from neighboring villages press toward the shore. People come because he heals the sick and speaks like one with authority. The disciples note their numbers and feel the weight of care that is about to fall on them. In that very moment, Jesus seeks a quieter place and climbs a hill with the 12. He intends rest and teaching, yet the people follow on foot from the towns. The disciples expect a brief respite that quickly becomes impossible. As the sun bends low, people settle on the grass like sheep, and the disciples hear murmurs of hunger. They count heads and feel a panic rise. There are 5,000 men, not counting women and children, far more mouths than they can feed. As the dusk deepens, the disciples approach Jesus, saying the obvious thing, "There is no food here." They speak with honest fear, measuring the impossibility. In their world, provision comes from preparation in stores, and they have neither. In that very instant, Jesus looks across the multitude and asks the disciples where they can buy bread. The question is not for commerce, but for their hearts. He invites them to see beyond scarcity to the necessity of compassion and trust. As the conversation continues, a disciple spots a boy with a simple lunch, 5 small loaves and 2 fish. He brings the offering to Jesus. The boy's gift is honest and meager, but it becomes the pivot of a miracle. The disciples feel both relief and disbelief. In that moment, Jesus takes the loaves and fishes, looks up to heaven, and gives thanks. He performs an ancient act of blessing that acknowledges God as provider. The gesture reorients the scene from human logistics to divine dependence. As the blessing lingers, Jesus breaks the loaves and hands pieces to the disciples to distribute. This act is both practical and symbolic. The disciples move from problem solvers to participants in a miracle, learning that obedience advances provision. In the same breath, the disciples move through rows of people, handing out bread. Each hand that receives shows relief, sometimes tears. The crowd knows scarcity. Now they taste unexpected abundance. The act itself teaches the crowd to accept and to share. As the distribution continues, something impossible happens. The food does not run out. Baskets that began nearly empty fill again and again. The disciples watch astonished as the economy of scarcity is overturned by abundance that feels like a declaration. God's care is sufficient. By the time night approaches, everyone is satisfied. The murmurs of hunger become murmurs of praise. The disciples, exhausted and amazed, begin to understand this is not merely about bread, but about revealing the heart of God toward needy people. As the distribution ends, the disciples gather 12 full baskets of leftover fragments. They count and marvel. This detail matters. Abundance does not lead to waste but to stewardship. The leftovers testify that the miracle was real and more than enough. Immediately afterwards, the crowd speculates about Jesus' identity. Some whisper he is the prophet who should come, a figure of deliverance. The miracle ignites hope that this teacher might be God's long-awaited intervention in their hard lives. Afterwards, Jesus withdraws to be alone and pray. The disciples follow at a distance, but see him seeking communion with the Father. This private moment shows the source of his compassion and confirms that the miracle flows from intimate dependence on God. Meanwhile, some leaders and onlookers quietly consider the implications. Miracles like this stir talk of kings and prophets. In a land under foreign rule, food and freedom are tangled together. A provider who feeds thousands becomes a symbol of hope and a political question. In the aftermath, the disciples gather and reflect. Their fear has been replaced by a dawning faith. When they obey and act with what little they have, God multiplies it. They learn a practical theology. Faith moves hands to serve, and service invites provision. When the scene quiets, the lesson is clear. God provides abundantly when compassion is matched with obedience. Mark 6 shows that miraculous provision meets real human need and trains followers to distribute with faith. If this story moved you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you do not miss the next one.